All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Joining us on the line today, we have Amy Sellers with the University of Arizona Student for Life Group. She's joining us on the line here today to talk about everything concerning the pro life movement, Students for Life, and the upcoming election. So, welcome, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me, Adrian.
Of course. So, we'll just hop right into this and we'll just start off with our first question here. Just a general question, just asking you to tell us a little bit about Students for Life, your guys' mission on the University of Arizona campus, and what that looks like for you guys, and how your group has come about and how it was founded.
So, Students for Life is a national organization, and there are chapters in many universities and, in fact, other schools across the country. I sometimes say from middle schools to medical schools, there are many Students for Life chapters in America. Students for Life, as the national organization, was founded in 1988. Today, it is headed by Kristen Hawkins. And our chapter at the University of Arizona was founded in 2019 by a group of students who have since graduated and moved on. But I am very grateful for the work that they started and for the fact that they paved the way for us to be here today and be able to have this platform to spread the pro-life message and talk to our peers, talk to our campus community, and talk to our community here in Tucson.
Awesome, 100%. I love that, and those are all great things to hear about your guys' group. Um, Next question here that we'll move into, and this kind of has to do with your guys' movements on the campus and how you guys go about spreading the message. What does that look like for you guys engaging other students and faculty and whoever it is who don't share those same views with you? How do you guys foster those dialogues, have those middle ground conversations, and what strategies have been most effective for getting out the message? Is there any events or things that you guys have been doing to spread your message?
So our format is alternating tablings in the public area of the school and meetings between the members ourselves. Every other week we have a meeting, and every other week in between we have a tabling. So at our tablings, we get set up in a public area of the mall right in front of the student union where there's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people passing by, even non-students, just members of the community walking their dogs and just coming. Um, so what we do is we table and we have a list. So we have a lot of resources that we like to share with them. We have a lot of cards and pamphlets that we share with information, and so we of course talk to them. We engage in dialogue. What I like to do personally is have a line to draw their attention because personally I want to have fun when I'm tabling and when I'm in this organization. I want to have a little bit of fun, and so for example, so a line. So someone could be like someone could walk under the tent and I might say to them, "You just walked under the tent, so now I am obligated to ask you what you think about our group, what you think about our mission." Or or I have some jokes. So I say, "Unborn babies are so cool. They're the side goat." Or abortion? How about embry? No. Uh, and then, to finish out like the trimester puns, it's time to the fetus abortion. So those are some ingenious, clever lines. Then I have a pitch where I explain my position, my pro-life position, and I could briefly go into what some of the uh, common misconceptions about the pro-life movement are, and I just talk about why unborn babies are in fact human and not just potential pre-human, pre-people entities, but already living human beings. And this can go on for just a short couple of minutes where I just explain why I'm passionate about this cause and what we do with Students for Life. And then once that's already established, I'll ask their name. I will introduce myself and what our club is and what we do, and then we head into the discussion. I ask them what they think about abortion, or what I might ask so I might ask a question like how many abortions they think happen in the US each year, or just some other topic, some other subtopic about abortion. And then I just listen to what they have to say. I explain my side of the argument, and but we have an open dialogue. We talk about it for as long as is necessary, and we are um, just able to we're able to do that, to have this open communication. So so to summarize, how I personally talk to people when we're tabling, I might lines, clever lines, pitch, and it doesn't necessarily go in that order, but it's just kind of that's one way you can hierarchize it, but it may not necessarily go in that order. Ultimately, what we do is just talk to people and ask for what they believe, and we're able to have that conversation.
Awesome. I mean, I think those are all sound like very effective strategies, and it sounds like you guys are able to have a lot of really good, meaningful conversations. On that note, with the conversations you guys have had and the dialogues you've had, what challenges do you feel like, if any, have you guys faced? I know that there's stories circulating when it comes to university systems of, maybe teacher bias against certain students for being, pro-life or conservative, or any of the things that the professor may not agree with, or even just outright hostility from, other staff, faculty, or even students or peers. How do you navigate those things if you have those, and if you don't, how have you guys been able to maintain such civility?
Well, I'm grateful to say that we have not had any challenges from the administration. The administration has been very professional and accommodating of our requests with regards to tabling and any events we have made. And when when engaging with other students or faculty or anybody who stops by at our table, we have not had any instances of overt hostility or let alone of violence. The worst that has happened that I've seen has been people just getting frustrated and walking away, but nobody has ever thrown things, nobody has ever threatened us, and uh, and I'm thankful for that.
Awesome. Well, and uh, I think that's such a great thing to hear in the midst of the hostility and the temperature and the climate in politics right now, surrounding the election. And I know people can get very emotional and heated in those things. So it's good to hear that there's at least one university out there that's keeping it somewhat civil. Moving on, transitioning to this next section of this interview, I want to get back to the group and talking more specifically about what you guys do on the campus, but I also wanted to take a moment and give you the opportunity to talk about the upcoming election, because I think that obviously plays a vital role into what you guys do at Students for Life. And so, transitioning this next upcoming election, whether from a personal note or speaking for the Student for Life group, how important do you feel like this upcoming election is for the unborn and for the pro life movement? What's on the table this coming election?
So this election is absolutely pivotal for the rights and the humanity of like the public perception of the humanity of the unborn children, and for the pro-life movement. If a pro-choice candidate is elected, we will have a widespread legalization and normalization of abortion, even more so than we already have. More states can become pro-abortion, and just in general, there can be this large, widespread notion that it is literally, socially acceptable by the administration. And if, on the other hand, we elect and we get pro-life candidates, uh, politicians, there will be this is something that will ensure, at least on some level, on a legal level, the rights of unborn children. And hopefully, this is what will happen. And we're hoping that people do take this election seriously and they consider the the constituents that are often forgotten, unborn human beings.
I really like that last part you said there, and I think that that is such a unknown like concept of voting for the unborn, and I think that's a beautiful way to put it. On that note, I guess you can say I'm more of a pessimist in many areas because I do feel like a big reason why I really wanted to have this interview with you was due to the fact that it really does seem that there has been a heavy push, um, mostly by Republicans, but also by Democrats and basically anybody in politics to distance themselves from the pro life movement and to basically kind of take it off the table almost and say, hey, this isn't an issue for us. We don't have to worry about this. There's no need to even vote about it. Let each state decide whether or not they want to murder babies or do things like that. You know, with this shift, you know, does this bring concerns for you and Students for Life on what the future might look like for the pro life movement? And how do we navigate that moving forward when you have two parties who basically make it seem like pro life voters don't exist anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree completely. So when it comes to Democrats, it's saddening and disappointing, but not surprising at all that they're pro-choice, and that every time abortion is discussed, it is framed and discussed from the perspective of the woman and her, well, quote unquote, autonomy, and the other party, the unborn children, are completely ignored. Um, and on the other hand, Republicans have been traditionally pro-life for at least many decades now, and yet it seems like it seems like less and less are talking about this. Less and less Republicans are talking about this issue and just how important it is. Some may mention it as like some have mentioned it minorly, but and as far as making that an actually important issue that they want to raise awareness of, or actually campaign on, that's just not something that we're seeing, unfortunately, and it's really disappointing because the Republican Party has been, like I said, the traditional pro-life party, and they could be the hope for unborn children, and so it is unfortunate, but I do see there as being some candidates who are ultimately more pro life than others.
And on that note, speaking about particular candidates and maybe things that you guys do find a little bit of hope in this upcoming election, is there any particular bill, any particular candidates, or anything that you guys have been advocating for students and people to vote for when it comes to this upcoming election, specifically here in the state of Arizona, considering that's where you guys are located? What has your focus been on trying to get people? Obviously, it's important that people vote, but for the pro life movement, we want them to vote a certain way in order to potentially save unborn babies. Has there been anything that you guys have focused on?
Well, we've focused on opposing Proposition 139. Proposition 139, if passed here in Arizona, would enshrine the quote unquote right for women to have an abortion up until the point of fetal viability around 24 weeks. Um, and and this would not only make it legal or acceptable, but it would make it a part of the Arizona state constitution. And this abortions up to 24 weeks could be for any reason. Wrong, the mother wanted a different gender, or she simply feels that she's not ready. But it's not simply a matter of her life being in danger. It's just completely. It would just be completely accessible for any reason. Currently, abortion is legal in Arizona until 15 weeks, which is already tragic, and we wish that weren't the case. But if Prop 139 passes, it would open the doors for even more babies being killed.
That's awesome. And, I have done my research on that, and I definitely think that that is a very important proposition that people vote against when it comes to saving babies. 100% agree with you. Transitioning back here, back to understanding the issue of abortion. Obviously, that is at the crux of what you guys do, helping people grasp what it is and what it means to actually have an abortion in that. So, my first question on that note is, you know, how would you personally define what it means to be pro-life in the view and the eyes of Students for Life? I think that there's maybe some people out there who would claim to be pro-life, but maybe have a stance of, oh, we can have exceptions for X, Y, and Z, have exceptions for these cases and these scenarios. Or even some people who claim to be pro life and say that, abortion is okay as long as it's before a heartbeat develops or before a certain timeline. How would you clear up that definition and say, okay, this is what it means to truly like have a pro life position in the sense of what it means to defend the unborn?
So, so when I think of pro-life, as you asked it, I think of it as having two definitions. The first, of course, is the like the broad first one is like the broad, anti-abortion position, of course. And but then there's also like what it means to be pro-life in a general everyday sense. So first, I'll explain that, and then I'll talk a little bit more about what it means to be a really firm, true pro-lifer as far as abortion goes. So when I think of, so when I think about, so when I think about animals, when I think about other creatures that we often, as human civilization often takes for granted or even exploits, I think that it is tragic, and I think that if you care about, you honor, and you value all the lives of all sentient beings, that is that is a very strong pro-life. That's a wonderful pro-life position to take. Um, Caring about animals, caring about the environment, and of course caring about human beings and all types, all human beings who are going through struggles, disabilities, poverty, systematic discrimination in any way. To be pro-life would have to entail caring about a lot of issues, at least in some capacity. Now, being pro-life specifically with regards to the unborn and 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 just unborn humanity. Uh, the thing is, I feel like we live in a culture, in a society where it is so common to casually dehumanize or make an afterthought unborn children. We think of birthdays as the moment when we have come into existence in the world and when we actually start to be people and matter. We think of birthright citizenship and think as long as the baby is born in America, they are an American. But these things really shed light on the fact that so often we really probably, I mean, I'm because I was actually talking about this earlier and I thought about this myself, that little things like that seem to indicate that we don't believe unborn babies are actually human beings in their own right now. And so to be able to affirm to ourselves and to society, we know from the moment of conception that is a human being, that is a life, that is a full person in development. We haven't seen them yet. They're not separated from their mother's body yet, but that is a human being. That is something that we need to do. And being pro-life in that way means knowing from the moment we were conceived, we were valuable human beings. From the moment we were, from the moment we came into this world, from the moment we were conceived, we came into this world. Our birthday or our date of birth isn't when we came into the world; it was when we were conceived. And you know, conception rights citizenship. Why can't we do that? That'd be a great idea. Um, and ultimately, just knowing and believing and reminding ourselves and each other, this is not a matter of being pro-life. Is not a matter of seeing babies as, seeing born babies and thinking they've only been here in the world for a few minutes, or yeah, I mean, I don't know, like they've only been here in the world for a few months or a few minutes, whatever the case may be, uh, or seeing a pregnant woman and only seeing one person. Being pro life means valuing, honoring, and and protecting the life of the unborn and seeing them at every stage.
I think you gave a clear distinction there, and 2 points that I really you don't see tied together as much in the general sense of having more of a compassionate heart, because I do think the work that pro-lifers do does require a lot of compassion for a wide array of topics, and not just the unborn, but specifically seeing the human in the womb as a human, and understanding that. On that note, one of the questions I felt like would be great to ask you, considering you've been having these dialogues. Obviously, there is a lot of misconceptions out there when it comes to abortion, a lot of misconception when it comes to the pro-life movement and their stance, and whatever that may be. What do you feel like, if you could list them, and give an answer of like how you address them, just the if you could even give us the top two or the top three common things you hear that you just kind of maybe roll your eyes at and say, that is not even true, that's a lie, or I don't know where you're getting your information from. What would those misconceptions be that you hear most often?
So, two very common ones that are tied together is that in order to be pro life, you must have a certain partisanship and a certain religion. So, a lot of people seem to believe that being pro life is something that is tied to being conservative or Republican, or that is a result of being religious, specifically Christian. So I am a Christian. I love Jesus, and I am grateful to be a Christian. The reason I am against abortion, though, isn't necessarily because church leaders have told me abortion is a sin. In fact, I don't think church leaders have ever really talked to me about abortion unless I brought up the topic first and I told them I am the president of Students for Life or something like that. I've never had a, yeah, I've never really had a religious leader tell me to vote against abortion uh, to look down on abortion because it is a sin. So instead, the reason I'm against it is simply because it is a human rights violation, regardless of your faith, regardless of your political partisanship or your political identity. We should all be able to agree that there are some common things in society that are wrong and some that are right. Killing innocent human beings is something that all societies in the world, thankfully, agree is wrong. From secular societies to more religious societies, it is a human common sense concept to know that killing the innocent is wrong. And furthermore, on that point regarding politics, I know that there are uh, left leaning. There are many left leaning pro life activists. There is one group that I really admire is Vegans for Preborn Rights, and there's also I've also heard of groups like uh, called secular pro life, which are mostly headed by atheists and agnostics. And then there are the Democrats for Life of America, headed by Kristen Day. And and there was actually a Democratic presidential nominee, Teresa Bukovac, and I so very much support pretty much all of her platform. And she is a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, who, well, she was a she was a pro-choice Christian, and she is now a pro-life atheist. And she is completely against abortion and believes that human life and personhood begins at conception, and so she supported a total abortion ban. So the idea that in order to be pro-life, you have to be you have to be a pearl clutching Republican, or you have to be so religious that you're forcing your personal beliefs on others, even if it doesn't affect them. It's just like something that you were raised believing is sinful, or is sinful. Um, that's not true. You can be of any religious background and you can be of any political background and be pro-life, because what we are doing as pro-lifers isn't partisan. It is something fundamental to human rights. We are advocating for human beings and their rights.
I think everything you said there, that's something that, I don't even personally think about enough. And I think that is a very, good thing to put it in, good way to put it. I think that media and different people try to make us seem maybe more divided than what we actually may be when there's common ground. And I think, something that startles me is the fact that I've even seen people, basically be told, oh, like, did you know, like, basically when you explain to them, did you know that this is what happens when an abortion takes place? Or did you know that, some babies are being aborted or left on a medical table, in rare instances, born accidentally and then left to basically die in the sense of just like, they're born, it's a failed abortion, we're not going to give them the medical care they need. And when you tell people that, they basically say, no, I didn't know that that happened. I didn't know that those things are taking place. And so I think that what you guys are doing at Students for Life, giving more information and allowing people to be more informed in their vote and in their opinions, is so, so, so crucial. It has been so great to have you on here. It has been such a pleasure. I think you've added a lot of insight to this issue. We will wrap up here with this last question for you. And this last question just has to do with your hope for the future. So the question is, what is your hope for the future of the United States and worldwide on the issue of abortion and on the issue of the unborn babies? What is it that keeps you going? Because it can be discouraging at times to maybe feel that, am I even making a difference? Is this gonna change? Will we ever see abortion go away? Is this, going to have a lasting effect? What is your hope and what keeps you moving and doing the work that you do?
Well, I think in general, righteousness will ultimately reign, even if, as Christians, we sometimes say, even if this side of heaven things don't work out well, someday God will bring justice. Someday Jesus will fix and repair things, and everything will be okay in the end. In the end, everything will be fine. Some people say if it's not the end, if it's not good, it's not the end yet. And so it's just that simple optimistic belief. But more specifically regarding the pro-life cause, um, so so my hope is that more and more people will come to see being pro-life as I said earlier, not a partisan, not necessarily a religious, uh, like based conviction, but simply common sense. I hope that more and more people can come to understand that respecting and honoring the life of unborn human beings isn't necessarily even a courtesy or uh, like um, like some going the extra mile type of morality that only some people can do, but no one should feel obligated to, but rather see it as common sense, common decency, and the bare minimum. Not killing unborn human beings isn't something that people should be, isn't something that people should be doing. Like being pro-life isn't something that people should be doing, only if it's like, something that they're able if only if if only if it's something that they're able to personally commit because they're such exceptional people. Rather, being pro-life is the bare minimum. Not like I just said, not killing unborn babies is the bare minimum. And so it is my hope that more people will see that it will be common sense, that that these archaic stereotypical beliefs of who can and who can't be a pro-lifer can be can just fade away with more and more generations, that it can stop being that people can stop seeing it as simply a personal imposition on other people's lives, but rather tie it into just any regular restriction we have on violence and murder. You cannot say that it's your body, your choice, so you can just kill a random person in their house. Instead, we know everyone has a right to life and everyone deserves to be treated with basic decency and respect. And so again, that is for all human beings, and it's not a matter of who you have historically voted for, or what, like, whether you're in a red state or a blue state. Just common sense. That's my hope, and I'm genuinely hoping that more and more young people will start to see that.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Amy. It has been so amazing to have you on the show to share about Students for Life in the group. Everyone watching, please search up Students for Life. You can find more of their content, Christina Hawkins, some of her videos, and they are a great, great resource when it comes to spreading the pro life message and what that looks like on a college campus. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.